This episode is brought to you by HCF Studios, Classics Barbershop, Community First Care Organization, Six Barbershop, Community First Care Organization, and Service King Cleaning. Welcome to Theology and the Streets. This is our first ever episode, and we just want to thank our listeners out there. You can find us on Facebook at Theology and the Streets. Our Twitter handle is tats_podcast, and our IG handle is Theology and the Streets. I am one third of your host, Luis Diaz, aka Pastor Lou, and we have
Don Dada, Pastor Newman,
Jammer Juggernaut in the building.
We also have with us our producer.
Yeah, Kirk Classic in the building.
Yeah.
No gloves, no restrictions.
Listen, where nothing goes untouched in this episode and these shows coming.
All topics are addressed.
You might get offended.
Breaking all barriers.
Exactly, breaking all barriers.
Nothing's off the table.
Theology in the Streets.
So let's jump right into this, right? Black Lives Matter. Where y'all at on that?
Black Lives Matter. Definitely, yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter, that's a fact.
I think we all are here, on one accord here, right?
Yes.
We all in agreement in there, right?
I don't think none of us believe that black lives don't matter.
Exactly, yeah. I think black lives definitely do matter. Without black lives, we wouldn't have some of the greats that we have in history. So definitely black lives do matter. But as to the point of where people are saying the term Black Lives Matter, it's excluding other races. I think that's where the problem occurs.
So what you're saying, let's keep it 100. White people feel like they're being excluded.
I think not only white people, I think other people.
All other ethnicities, yeah.
Yeah.
Hispanics, Asians, Indians, Arabs, but mostly white people. Yeah.
I think they got the biggest problem. White people probably have the biggest problem,
Yeah.
but I've seen occurrences where other ethnic group backgrounds would say, "Oh, well, my life matters too." So
Yep.
Yeah, listen, it's clear. All lives do matter, but we have a issue here in America, especially for 400 years, where slavery was, established a part of the economy of this nation. And the civil rights movement, which is pretty recent, historically speaking, I just see this as another opportunity for progress for black minorities. To be honest with you, I don't know where this is going as far as politics is concerned. I mean, because if they run with it from a political standpoint, there's a lot of ups on it. And what I mean by that is they could become their own party if they wanted to. I mean, really push the status quo. Right now, I know they're just looking for some basic things, and I know we're going to get into that. But I think there's a lot of upside from a political standpoint, even though theologically I do have some concerns.
So who can break that down? What does that mean, Black Lives Matter? What are they trying to say? What are they trying to convey?
Black Lives Matter, I think, right, we all agree, like Lou said, from ever since they came to this country, in slave ships. And if we could talk about slavery for hours, man, the atrocities committed in slavery are just like, whoa. It's like a horror flick. You know what I'm saying? It's really a horror flick. And I think they went 50% on the establishment of this country. On building this country economically, structurally, and then they didn't have rights after slavery was abolished, but it really wasn't abolished. Then they went like another 100 years without civil rights. And then just recently, I think 1968, 69, finally got civil rights on paper, but not really. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like 52 years ago, 54 years ago? I don't know, my numbers may be wrong. And they still fighting for basic civil rights. The civil rights game is skewed, right? It's skewed. They don't have what white people have or other ethnicities have, and they're attacked, and they're still treated like second-tier citizens in a lot of places.
So this is where I think Black Lives Matter, their philosophy has a postmodern kind of mindset, meaning they're willing to question all aspects of the status quo. even when it comes to their civil rights. And I think there's good in that. But then another part of it this is where my challenge comes in is the deconstructionism of defining what racism is. Racism has been redefined by them, where they include power structures, skin color, white supremacy, and there's another part into that that slips my mind right now. But it's a redefinition of what racism is. It's institutionalized, and they redefine that. And this is my problem. So from a theological standpoint, I think we all know where racism stems from. It's straight up sin, right? Yeah. So we're talking about on an individual level, it's an issue of the heart. But if we're talking about from a demonic level, we're talking about, principalities and powers, then it would make sense in that sense, in defining it that way.
Now, if we're talking about it biblically,
yeah,
would it be part of this world system? Would you include it into that?
I think without a doubt, because when you look at just historically people in general, people have always known to enslave other humans,
Exactly.
That's just part of history. You look at what Hitler did to the Jews, to the gypsies, and even though he didn't enslave them, but he just saw them as less.
Yeah.
Right. Even Christians, even the special needs. He was horrendous. But Napoleon, you look at even Stalin to his own people. Just the history of humankind has been riddled with all kind of ugliness, from slavery to just straight abuse.
And that's where the Bible says, "Be not of this world," and that's the part of this world he's talking about, right?
Yeah, definitely. But this is the thing, right? So I agree that things do need to change, right? So, but what is the mainline agenda here, right? Where are they trying to go with the movement? And this is where I said there's so much upside, because they do have the ear of America right now.
And I think this is why everybody attracts to it of color, because they're basically bringing up the unsaid. Everybody know that, the America and the powers that be and that govern America. I mean, let's be, listen, right? No punches. I mean, right? Gloves off. This is what we're about. We know how this country was built, and we know who's kind of in control of this country. So they're basically just voicing what people are scared to voice. Am I wrong, or what you guys think?
Black people have come a long, long, long way. We have to recognize that at least.
I agree
went from
with
slavery to a black president being elected 3.5 years ago, twice through. But it's still not enough. I'm not justifying the
But I'm saying who's in control. As we say, come a long way where?
Yeah.
Who's at the top?
Who's at the top right now? I mean,
But let's be real.
population wise and
Everything,
white people.
government wise,
everything,
of
yeah.
course, white people.
Yeah.
yeah.
They
be real.
had a head start, right? We ran a race, and then they had a head start, and they said black people hold on, and they got a 5-mile head start.
They took this land from our
Native
Americans,
right.
which we're part of.
But
being
that was a
Latino.
part of the world back then, right? I mean, that's what everybody did, correct? You just can't blame white people for that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That was just the norm.
Traveling and conquering.
Travel, explore, conquer,
Conquer.
ours. You know what I'm saying? Everybody did it. They just did it the best. Not justifying that, but that was just the way the world was. Even our tribes before they came.
Well, I don't know.
were
What kind
fighting.
of Taínos were kind of peaceful.
In the
be
Caribbean, I'm talking about here in America.
you
The
probably
Native
heard about-
Americans,
yeah.
they were fighting each other for territory and resources.
Yeah.
They weren't here at peace. Love, utopia.
I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore. Sometimes
It's a story.
No,
I mean,
sometimes I don't know what
they
to
were
believe.
fighting-
I don't know what's
and
been
I think that's the thing.
fabricated. I don't know what's been fabricated.
No, that's the thing. What you just brought up is important, because that's part of postmodern thought, which is deconstructionism.
Yeah.
In other words, you redefine everything.
Yeah.
And there's some validity behind it, because what we grew up learning from the history books has not always been accurate, right?
Exactly.
So I think on one level they're trying to bring some of that accuracy in, but at what expense? And then not only that, man, we live in a day and age where there's so much technology where you can change things via, like, for example, I seen a sister from my church, she retweeted, or actually she reposted on Facebook a Babylon Bee article. Now, if you know what Babylon Bee is, they are a satire comedy kind of
it's not real news.
It's not real news, but that's my point, is that a lot of people they don't discern, or they don't understand what's real and what's not. And so I would say
fake news.
Yeah, fake news.
Was that your Trump voice?
Yeah, that's like, it's fake news.
I
We're
think
doing
on
great.
both sides of the coin, man, you got extreme left and extreme right that know how to utilize this.
Yeah,
Man. They know how to utilize taglines
Shouts out to
and
Trump.
agendas. So
To manipulate
yo,
the
Trump,
masses.
Twitter boss, yo. For real.
His Twitter fingers turn into trigger fingers. Oh, my bad.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how I knew that. I don't know
Nice.
how I knew that. Okay. No, but Kurt, what does if we could bring you into the conversation,
sir.
what does Black Lives Matter mean to you?
Just that, Black Lives Matter, man.
It's that simple?
It's that simple, man. Is I think that what's happened is people have made it complicated when it was just simply about black people saying, "Look, man, we matter too." That's really all it was. Is like, yo, our lives do matter. So I think it's just that simple, bro.
I think you're right.
Yeah, nothing to break down there.
Yeah. And I think people are missing the point when they're saying all lives matter. Yes, we know that all lives matter. We're attacking a demographic that's being mistreated, you know what I mean? And we're highlighting it and saying, listen, if all lives matter, then let's start treating the black man with some respect. Basically. Right? That's all we're saying. We're not saying that Black Lives Matter is not saying that other lives aren't important or black lives are more important than other lives. They're saying that, like Kurt said, we matter too. So show it. Why can't it be shown? Why put a little respect on our name?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, Black Lives Matter. I think we have to bring up all the misfortunes happening in the black community right now. Right? That's I think what it really means. Like they say, Black lives. We've put so much into this country. We've endured and suffered so many atrocities. So right now, our communities need help.
Yeah.
And we're not blaming everything on you, right? Like, we have a high teenage pregnancy rate. We have poverty in our communities. We had bad school districts. We have like 72% of all black children in America live in a single parent mother household.
crazy.
You know what I'm saying? It's just so many statistics that are like, yo, black lives are going through it. And since we went through so much, and one of the main reasons they're going through these bad misfortunes is because of what the white man did to them through the systemic racist structure to hold them back. Exactly. And that worked. And they are held back right now because of those structures. So they're like, yo, now you need to like repair us, man. We need your help in repair. We can help ourselves too. But damn, bro, you put us in a ditch that's mad deep. And you got to be held accountable to help dig us out of that. You know what I'm saying? So put money into our communities, bro. You know what I'm saying? Hook us up with more programs so we can catch up. Because y'all had like a 1,000-mile head start in this American dream. You know what I'm saying?
And don't kill innocent black people when you pull them over.
Yeah, that too. That's a big thing.
I think that's what technology has really just, allowed for these things to come to light, right? How long has this really been going on where technology has not been able to capture this stuff?
Oh, for a very long time.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. And it's just now with technology,
To be held accountable.
Who eyes are opened.
exactly,
It's getting captured.
Exactly.
Every single.
And they're pulling it all out. And, the news, they do a great job digging out for old videos, and that's what they're doing right now. They're just digging up old stuff. Now, I do want to say that we can't obviously paint a broad brush with all police officers either. Right. Because we know police officers ourselves, and these are good men that's trying to do good work. And let's be honest, man. When you look at white police officers who come from suburbs and they come and they try to police minority communities, that's a culture shock, man. And it's when you go from and if you want to use privilege, when you go from being privileged, I don't like the term privilege personally, but when you go from having a family structure, understanding what love may be in a family structure, and having things kind of put in place so that you can succeed in life as a child to college and to wherever you need to go. And all of a sudden you come into a community where crack and heroin and all kinds of drugs and drug abuse and single parent homes and just all the atrocities that we find in inner city lifestyles, it's a culture shock for them. And then that's on top of what kind of training are they receiving.
See, but this is where the levels, this is where my levels of excitement just burst through my brain because, no, seriously, because there was four altogether, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
And 3 just sat there and watched. Now, this is the thing. If I was a police officer, I would be upset because you're putting a bad name on my people. on who I'm gathered with and who my faculty. So that's why this is what gets me upset is that the police should be more upset. You see that? Because now when you get stereotyped, it's because of your mans. Your mans did that.
Yeah, I feel
that
you.
was your mans that did that.
Yeah.
We ain't just pulled this out the air.
Yeah.
Your man stepped on that man's neck. You know what I mean? That was your peoples that did that. So the police should be in an uproar right now. Like,
Let me say this: you think some of those voices being drowned out though?
Yes.
Because I think there's some that's out there that's
You're right.
media wise,
You're right.
like,
You're right.
just not getting no clout at all.
But I'm
Just
saying within that, okay, you're right. That's on a general spectrum. But what I'm saying is, on that particular situation, there was 3 other cops there. Why y'all
I hear you.
scared? Why y'all shook?
Yeah.
Like even when we was gangsters in the back in the days, and it happened to me plenty of times. And God forgive me for the stuff I've done, and He did. But when I went too far, even my gangster friends would tell me,
You out of
yo,
pocket,
yo, he good, he done, he don't need no more. You know what I mean? So, and we were on the streets doing havoc, evil. How you're not a leader. You're scared to step in to say, hey, come on. The guy's already handcuffed. He's already detained. What more can you do to him? You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a culture within the police department
Yes.
where you have to have each other's back. If not, you are alienated.
It was the same
And,
culture in the gang, though.
you know what I'm saying?
It was the same culture was in the gang, and we
like-
still did it to each other.
Yes,
but it's
like-
kind of like that no
right.
snitch culture, right?
Right. Like
It was-
Lou said, there's a whole bunch of cops out there,
There's a whole
probably
bunch
like
of us.
97%, that's like, yo, that was wrong. That was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And if you just talk to cops, they'll be like, yeah, I would have done something. I would have been like, yo,
exactly. I hear you.
fam,
I hear you.
get your knee off his neck, bro.
Yeah,
He's
they said
done.
you're done.
He's
Yeah.
out,
Well,
bro.
it's
Look
funny.
at him. He's out.
Yeah, exactly.
There's video out there of a protester being arrested, and one of the cops had his knee on the neck of this protester. The other cop that was putting the cuffs on him grabbed his knee and pulled it off and put it on his back.
Look at that.
Yeah. Well, I seen another one that the cop pulled out a gun, and I think his lieutenant or sergeant was like, "Hey, put that away! What are you doing? Put that away!"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're right.
Yeah, but you think about this, right? You go from being heroes to straight villains in an instant.
Wow.
Think about that, man. You know, so that they have to process this, right? Because now all kinds of reform. Albany just passed all kinds of reform for no chokeholds. There's some other things they passed, but so now all these sweeping reforms are going to be going about every state, and now they feel like the enemy. Now think about that, man. There's some danger in that too, of backlash of just like, yo, why did I sign up for this?
Yes, look what happened in Buffalo recently. You had a whole 50 cops just resigned. They resigned over that old man getting ran over, and they got demonized and the whole nine.
He pushed the old man, I guess, and he fell.
Well, no, you shouldn't get in a cop's face in the middle of a riot.
Yeah, but
thing.
then
Not justifying it.
Yeah.
It was still wrong. They
We
could have
understand,
helped the
but the
dude
guy
up
was
and everything.
very
But not
old.
only that, they just walked by the dude. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't
He was
even,
bleeding,
You know what I'm saying?
you know.
Bleeding from his ear and everything, you know?
And he's 75 years
Dude,
old.
no, like you didn't need to
He's
push
less
him.
than a
But
threat.
that's my point, though. He's less than
You
a
know?
threat. You didn't need to push
But they
him. He's
pissed
75
off.
years old.
They pissed off because they're getting demonized and looked
But
at as
Jenny,
villains.
let me
and
ask this question,
a
right?
whole bunch of them
Let me ask
resigned.
this. Did like some of the police look like they were untrained for all this rioting?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
They're not
even in
prepared. They're
locally,
crazy,
even
right?
Rochester.
Yeah.
They was going ham with those guns.
Bro.
Yo, a barber has more time training, is required more time
That's
training
crazy.
to become
I've
a
seen
barber
that.
than a police officer.
That's crazy.
That's
Look at that.
ridiculous.
Look at that.
That's ridiculous, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
How long you went to school to become a barber?
What? I did like 6 months.
6 months, and you still give
Yeah, so
All right.
I'm still not the best. Crazy.
No, you've come a long way. He's come a
don't
long
play
way.
me. Don't play me.
Classic barbershops, ladies and
Shout out to
gentlemen.
Classics Barbershop. Where he gets his haircut. Faithfully. Yeah. No, but listen, even locally, they were going crazy with those guns.
Yeah.
They were spraying. I seen dude he reminded me when we went paintball shooting. Like, you know how the gun, it's no more paintball and you're still just popping it
Still
so
popping in the air.
people could think that you get scared and they can leave you alone. He was just popping it. There was no more bullets in there. He was just going crazy with it.
And I think that's part of the retraining that they need today. Sadly, there is a social aspect where police have to learn how to de-escalate situations. They come in and it's just they've been trained to take control, take it over by
Very
force, whatever.
aggressive.
Exactly, aggressive, and that's where that's just kind of exacerbated everything in the minority community. So I think the retraining is important. How to deal with people.
I seen the guy when he was shooting it,
Yeah.
and he said, "Say hello to my little friend."
Wow.
No, I'm just joking.
Oh,
You know,
about this-
the cop didn't say that. The
This
cop
guy
didn't
right
say
here,
that.
this guy.
That's crazy.
See this dude right here. What I'm
The
dealing
comments
with
say
here.
that,
What am I
okay.
dealing with?
Guys, but also not only retraining, but we have to find a new method of recruitment. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
We shouldn't have country white boys who never been lived or experienced city life or don't even know black or white people,
And that's your
Hispanic
point, Gemma.
people. How they policing black and Hispanic communities?
Gemma, that's your point, that there should be more people of color
Yes.
applying for this job.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We need to infiltrate.
And there's a stigma in the black and Hispanic community
Yeah.
not to become a cop. And that's
Exactly.
bad. We got to change that, man.
gotta change
Because that's
too.
the only way we're going to
That's
make
change
change is if we become law enforcement officers, if we become judges, if we become district attorneys who are trying to put these people in jail. As a district attorney growing up in the city, you're going to have some sympathy and be like, yo, hold on. I ain't going to give this 17-year-old African-American 10 years in jail for his first or second offense, man.
Tell that to Meek Mill,
You know what I'm
though.
saying?
Tell that to Meek Mill.
Word, yo, he's a perfect example of what they did to him. That was foul.
Yeah, but he had a black judge.
Oh yeah, and he did, and he said a rhyme about that
So,
too. He said
yeah.
he put in one of his rhymes. a black
but my-
woman judge.
My point though is that the system though, right? There's an aspect about the system in which it is what it is right now. And I think even if you have minorities sometimes in places of authority, they get caught up in that atmosphere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of the way they're trained, whatever it might be.
Perfect example of that is all these police brutality cases that are happening to African Americans. The majority of them are in Democratic ran cities where the majority of the politicians in that city, they have a black mayor, they have a
Yeah.
black police chief,
Yeah.
they have a majority of black city council, a majority of black school board members.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So
So,
there's-
they're being elected to make a change, but they're not making
They're
that
not
change.
making any changes. And
Yeah.
it makes you, why? Why
Yeah.
the changes not coming
Exactly.
in, you know?
Well,
It's a good
speaking,
question.
well, speaking about change, this Black Lives Matters, this protesters, they've been unifying people on a good note. They've been protesting in Australia, Britain, France,
they got the whole
Germany.
world on it,
They
man.
They got white people feeling guilty for being white.
Yeah.
Uh,
yeah,
that's
I'm not
crazy.
feeling that. I'm not feeling
That's
that.
Yeah,
crazy.
that's the little
I'm not
shouldn't
feeling
be,
that.
We shouldn't go that far.
Well, I think it's deeper than that. That's just a surface level
I understand
statement.
what you're saying.
It's more of a use your entitlement as a white person because you do have entitlement.
Entitlement, yeah.
Being white, use that entitlement and privilege to help the
does
Black Lives Matter movement.
Does every
That's
white
what it really
does
means.
every white person have entitlement?
Oh, absolutely.
No.
Come on.
Bro, we know white people from the DMO had entitlement. I think he got pulled over just like a black man got pulled over.
Yeah, but I think
He was in the
got
hood.
entitlement. Like we have, for example, why every time back in the days when we was mad drunk and smoking massive amounts of marijuana, Lord forgive us, or we were up to no good, about to do something bad, who we had drive the car? Buddhas, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy, because we know he was least at risk of being pulled over.
But how many
And
times?
you know that's the truth.
Yeah, but how many times has he been, dealt with police brutality himself? I had this conversation with him. He
Buddha?
said, he told me he's been, harassed by the police, and they told him, why you talk like the police even told him, hey, why you talk like a black guy? Yeah, they've told him that. You know what I mean?
that's crazy.
Yeah, and Buddha was like, bro, I talk like myself. What are you talking? I don't talk like anyone.
See, but that speaks to what Gemma said. You know what I mean? Because again, look
the
at
expectation.
what brought on the aggression, if you will. It's the fact that I perceive that, you're not acting like me. You're not acting like what you look like.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So therefore now, I'm going to challenge you because it's like, you talking like a black dude.
And that's one thing regular white people really hate is when they see another white person act like us. Oh, they can't stand
But
it.
that's my point. So not all are entitled. You know what I mean? Some of them are victims too. Some of the white,
100%.
they're product of their environment.
But we're not
They're
talking about
trying to be.
we're not talking about that very, very small
Okay,
demographic.
You're right.
We're
That's
talking
a
about
small
the majority of
You're
white
right. That
people.
is a small demographic. I just don't want to exclude them. Let's show love the Brooklyn way to my white folk that's from poverty that
Word.
went through the struggle too.
Word.
Yeah,
Big up.
Yeah, big up to them.
Big
too.
up Buddha.
Yeah,
And
big up to Buddha.
Rest in peace, Dave.
And rest in peace, DMO. But I think that again, that's what you talk about, Jam, all the time. That we have to infiltrate the structure that is at
absolutely.
hand in order to make a change.
And that's the only way to make a change. We got kids, raise your kids right? Father, mother, right? And that's what we doing. Everybody in
but
this room is doing.
and I think
that's
that's
the real
the starting
movement.
block, right? So the starting block is the family structure, right? How many kids right now? Like you said, 74%.
72% of
72%?
black children in America, man.
So that's just a
Mind-boggling.
ditch. You just crawling out of a ditch right there, where the father's not in the home, and you got single parenting, single parent moms. That's just horrible for our kids, man. What do
Horrible.
they see? So what you find with some of these young black Americans is that they've been raised by their moms. When they become adolescents and they're teenagers and all the hormones is raging, they're looking for somebody to look up to.
Oh, yeah.
And who they gonna find? They're gonna find a gangster. They're gonna find somebody who's showing them love. And the reality, that's what this is, just reciprocating itself. And is how could you get a black kid that's in an environment like that into college to go get an education and get a degree, right?
Yeah.
It's I mean the odds are just hard. They got to work even harder, right?
You're birthed to lose. You know?
It's difficult, but this is the thing. It has to start, I think, in the home where we have, as a church.
As the church, we still got to call sin. Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Sexual immorality is sexual immorality, right?
That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying? I mean, if you having kids out of wedlock, that's sin. Not only that, we know for a fact that Planned Parenthood is killing black babies at a higher rate than anyone else.
Yes.
Right? Than anyone else. And so it's they're getting slammed on so many sides. Black people are getting slammed on so many sides, and we want them to infiltrate. It has to start at the home. That's the family structure.
Education at the home.
Most importantly, like Lou said, it starts with God. If you don't
Always.
have God in your home, then you don't know the importance of man, the father, in God's
marriage.
ordinance, right? It go God, father, mother, child.
So this
in
brings
that
up
order.
this bring up my next
Marriage,
point, right?
yeah.
So, like I said, with Black Lives Matter, the movement itself, it has great desires and looking for to deal with injustice. But if God is not in the midst of that,
Yeah.
It's in vain.
If he's
you
not,
may change. The things may change. Like let's say
You have remnants of it.
You may have change, but guess what? The power structure will stay the same.
or it might change, but it'll lead to a postmodernist ideology. Like
It
you said.
is what it is right
You know
now.
what I'm saying?
That's what's going on, and that's why we in the problem that we in.
Yeah.
That's why. See, you took God out the household.
Yes.
And God kept the family together. God was all about family, about the marriage of God and the mother, the father, and the child. So you take that out, you separate everything, you take away everything, and now you have nothing to stand on. There's no foundation there, and that's why this the only way. Even at work, and we do, we help at-risk youth. This is my slogan. It's only at one household at a time. I cannot help this kid if I cannot get into his household.
Come on.
You know what I mean? I can only do so much. There's probably a small percentage that might listen to me and come to the centers and the resources that we give them. But that's a very, very, very small percentage.
See how much hard work that is?
And that's a very small percentage. You got to get in their household. You got to get the parents aboard. If it's a single parent, you got to get her aboard or he or him aboard. But it starts one household at a time.
So this has been one of the things I've seen across social media is where white evangelicals, either they've been silent or they just take the other side. They're just not in agreement with what they're hearing. And my thing is, there are people hurting out here, man. Forget about like the political movement of Black Lives Matter. As Pastor Curtis already alluded, Black Lives Matter. And we got so, like, you can go into the hood and find people sleeping on mattresses right now where they ain't got nothing in their home. They waiting for the next welfare check to eat. It's just straight up poverty like that. When you live with that kind of hopelessness, man, it's debilitating. It's breaking to the mindset, the psyche of people.
It is, but they need to be re-educated because how many of them are indoctrinated into this own, they're making, not having this goal to get out of poverty, stuck in there with that stuck mindset.
It's almost impossible, man. You're being born into a bad situation, man. And miraculous things have to happen for you to get out of that situation.
It's not impossible. It's just hard work.
Yeah, miraculous.
It's harder work.
But it is harder work. That's valid.
Definitely.
But the cities, I know our cities, I know there's tons of cities out there that have put in resources out there and are trying to reach these kids, are definitely trying to educate them, definitely trying to pull them to do better things, mentor them. I bet you go to any inner city, there's mentorship, there's resources there. Come on now.
And how much of that then? How much of that is just straight the depravity of man, right? Even from our kids, right?
That's the deepness of it.
Okay, so that's the more the spiritual end.
That's
right?
the real talk.
What we're finding is
that real talk.
I'm gonna be honest with you. What we're finding in whether inner city and even in suburban homes, you're finding a generation that's coming up that has no fear of God. Why?
Yes.
Because the generation before them forgot God, and the generation before them started saying, well, maybe we can waffle with a little bit of liberalism, and we're suffering the repercussions of that today. Our children we were products of it at one point before Christ saved us. So what is the responsibility of the church?
We need to be out there. We need to be reaching. We need to get out the confinements of the building and be out there in the streets, in the community, doing getting your hands dirty, so to speak.
So church members need to be social workers. Church members need to. So it's not even just inside from a policing standpoint, not just from a being judge or lawyer's standpoint, right? We're talking about all phases of community where minorities are in there representing.
All right, check it out.
Yes.
Yo, trending on the streets, Camera Jugging out here. This what's going on in the country right now. You got cities all across the nation taking a new tactic to repair this police brutality thing and help alleviate poverty in inner cities. They are reallocating funds that were supposed to go to police departments and instead giving it to inner city programs to build jobs, build programs to help these families come rise up out of poverty, because the American government is supposed to be held accountable for putting these people in the ditch from the beginning of time. So how you guys feeling about that?
So
that's a lot.
It's a double-edged coin. It's goods and positives, right?
So we're talking about defunding police,
right? And that's the right-wing conservative way of putting it, to make you think, oh, what are these people doing? But like you pointed out earlier, Lou, in an early discussion, it's really a reallocating of. You know what I'm saying? We're not giving so much to the police department. We're going to take some of those funds and actually give to the inner city community, because the more we give to the police department, the more police brutality and the more power they're using to oppress these inner city communities.
I don't know.
I think it's interesting to bring that about, right? But my issue is, like, locally in our city schools have done a poor job managing funds.
Oh my God, Rochester, New York is a perfect example.
Democrats in general. Okay,
what? It was like, was it a couple million that was missing, right?
No. You're talking about
like 6 million?
Bro, it's more than that,
multi-million dollar.
I know it's like 6 or 7 million.
How much?
Tens of millions.
It's up to almost 80. No, it's up to almost 80 million.
Now it's up to 80 million. Wow.
80 million misallocated funds. Where'd that go, bro?
You see what I'm saying? So now, and that's common theme amongst Democrats, as far as managing and trying to deal with the funds that they're responsible for. I have some problems with that. I would like to see it tried out, to be honest with you, personally, because I think it could, when you have the community responsible for dealing with drug dealers, dealing with these young kids that's out here just trying to make quick money, or just, domestic issues going on, I would like to see how the community will respond, because maybe the church can be a bigger influence then. You hear what I'm saying? Now we can actually step up to the plate and do a bigger part. But
now is this gonna mess with like police salaries in general?
Exactly. No, the other side of the coin is, will that make it harder for police departments to fight crime? I mean, you're going to have a smaller workforce. You're going to have less devices to fight that crime, like overtime for stakeouts, wire bugs, and all that. Equipment needed for surveillance on criminals.
There's going to be repercussions if you go down that route. No matter, if you go down that route, you're gonna fail in some areas.
But it's a good experiment. Let's try and go the other way. Let's do a 180.
Let's put the responsibility back on the people, right?
Yeah, because this ain't working. What is going on?
Well, listen. Look at this, right? And this was in the Democratic Chronicle, right? They posted on Thursday on Facebook. It said, "This is in the Democratic Chronicle." They said, and we're talking about Rochester, New York. They said Thursday on Facebook, for example, a local group known as Free the People Rock praised the protest Saturday as an act of mourning for George Floyd and others killed by police and demanding for change in police conduct. In response, the RPD showed them violence, firing pepper spray, rubber bullets, tear gas indiscriminately into the crowd, included both young children and elders. Right? This cannot stand. The police who claim to protect us and our right to protest cannot be allowed to incite violence and must be held accountable for the engagement of our lives. And the group stated this among the demands. Now check this out. This is what I want you guys to focus on. Look at the demands here and tell me what y'all think about it. Among the group demands, defund police and instead invest into the communities, what you guys were talking about, right? Yep. Drop all criminal charges against local arrest in connection with the violence and destruction in Rochester on May 30th and May 31st.
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay, that's all the looting and all that stuff, okay?
Yeah, I don't agree with
They're saying drop all the criminal charges. This is the demands. They said the Rochester City School District must also sever all ties with the Rochester Police Department.
No, that's crazy.
Okay, now check this out. Okay, and it says pay repetitions to individuals and their families impacted by police brutality. Make police disciplinary records open to public.
Pay reparations
Yeah,
to individuals and
I'm-
their families impacted by police brutality. Oh, wow.
And they're saying make police disciplinary records
So
open
is
to
that
the
on
public.
top of suing the the police department or city or whatever city that abuse may come in? Right. So that's natural response for police brutality, especially if it's been proven that it is. I'm gonna sue the city. Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
they already
so-
do get some type of money when they sue if they win the case.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If they win the case or
Yeah.
they settle out of court. So is that on top of?
Not sure on
You know,
that.
so-
Not sure on that. But what do you guys think about the Rochester City School must sever all ties with the police?
So we're talking about
department.
what kind of? It's the officer they have an officer in every school. correct? Every high school.
I can speak to that. Yeah,
Okay.
Especially these where there's a lot of violence in schools. There's designated officers.
Yeah, that's
Designated.
what the resource officer they call
Yeah,
it?
and it's sometimes there's two of them, 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, there's violence even with them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine if they're not there.
Yeah, it's gonna
My
get-
cousin was one of
it's gonna
them.
get wild.
My cousin was at Charlotte for a long time. He was that officer for that high school.
And they pay no attention to the police. I mean, they don't care. I've seen fights break out in front of the police officer.
Well, it depends on the police officer. Like my cousin was a Hispanic, so they accepted him. He said he built a long time relationships with many.
I'm not
kids
saying that they don't
in
build
that school.
relationships. They do build relationships. But when they want to get it on and popping,
Oh,
they get it on and popping.
popping.
They don't
Oh,
care
yeah,
less
yeah,
if
yeah.
these kids they can care less if police is
Right.
there.
But I like the police there because what if some crazy kid wants to go into the school and start just shooting everybody? That police officer is going to save a lot of lives.
Exactly. And
Because he's the only one with a gun in that school.
and they know that the presence is there. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, I
no,
don't agree with that.
one.
Especially not for inner city schools.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't
not.
know if
But actually any school. Because
Any-
most
yeah,
of the
'cause-
shootings happen in suburban schools.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
my bad.
At least in the
So,
city
yeah.
schools, there probably be other people with guns that can shoot a guy before he kills everybody else.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
most
you know what I
likely.
mean. Yeah, so that's we all gotta go packing. So
No, we are not. We are not
But-
advocating or justifying
No.
students.
But guess what?
Bringing guns to school.
why
ladies and
school has
gentlemen.
gotten like this when they took prayers out of school. Right or wrong? When they
Back in
took
the 50s, you think?
yeah, when they took prayer out of school, they took away that element of that spiritual enlightenment, that spiritual feeding that they needed. A lot of these kids are broken.
When you speak about prayer,
Let me
okay,
add-
the reason they took prayer out of school, right? I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
okay? Is because we were only praying for one God.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Now, this is the United States of America. There's a whole bunch of religions we have to be
Exactly.
tolerant of. So, in light of that, we still don't have to take religion out of school. Whatever religion you follow, you should have a designated room for that group of religious people to have prayer before schools. I
But
think that
let's
would
keep
help
it 100 there,
everyone.
though, man. Other religions will be more tolerant of them, but when
They
it comes
will
to
be.
Christianity, ain't
when it
having
comes to
bro.
Christ,
Yeah,
yes,
Right.
Come on,
They probably got
As long as there's equity in worship in the schools, I think that would be great, man. Islam, you can go there and say a prayer. Buddhists, Hinduism.
And I think you can right now. I
But
think
then-
just Christ you can.
But then the bad side of
That's
that,
the thing.
I think
Yeah.
right now you probably can do all that.
but
Yeah.
then the bad side of that is people are are just dumb, and they'll be like, "Well, what about us Satanists?" Oh,
yeah, they're gonna
that's
go
a
there.
religion.
Oh, yeah, they go there.
They do go
Yeah,
there.
they go
That's
there.
part of
This-
listen.
they
That's
do
part of
go
the
there.
postmodern mindset,
Yeah,
though, where
exactly.
you question
Yeah,
Everything's
but hold on,
challenged.
can I come
Everything is
to
challenged.
Everything is challenged.
everything.
There's no
Everything.
absolute truth. There's no absolute truth.
Exactly.
So
Everything is challenged.
So everything is challenged, and
So therefore, we just don't do it, and that's why they took prayer out of school.
And
No,
that's
I don't
why you
agree
see
with that, though.
everything.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
why
we
you
don't
see-
agree with that. We don't. We
And
don't.
look at what's happening.
Yeah.
And look at what's
Let
happening.
me ask you, because you work in city school districts, do you see some kids getting together and pray at all?
Remnants
Remnants
of
small.
that, very small, and you don't see, like you said, the idea now is to challenge everything. Why should I believe in your faith, in your Christ? Why, when there's a million other things out there saying that they're right? See, these kids, they feel that, why should I believe your absolute truth? I don't think your absolute truth should define everyone's absolute truth.
And the common theme is, I would like Kurt Classic to embellish on this real quick after I say this. This bad mindset that Christianity is a white religion and was used to enslave the African Americans.
That's big right now too.
And that's real big. That's taking them away. That's taking a large population of black youth away from the Bible.
And Hispanic.
So Kurt, please enlighten, if anybody listening, please enlighten, where did Christianity stem from? And, is it a white religion?
Absolutely not.
Embellish, please.
Absolutely
Embellish, please. Give us a history lesson.
please, because these young, black children needs to hear this.
Well, they
because
need to.
No,
because
no,
they're hearing the
black
other
man.
side of
They
it.
From a
do.
black
They're
man.
hearing it from the other side. And Kurt is black, if you ain't know. If you ain't know, you're gonna know now.
He's the epitome of black.
He
so,
is.
so hit him
He's
with
the
a Kurt
black
Classic.
man. When you say Kurt, you gotta say the black man. For real, Kurt, real. Go ahead, Kurt.
Well, if you go back to scripture, let's start there. Look at scripture, and then look at how the description of the Messiah is depicted. Right there, you have the image of a black brown man.
Let's just start with the geographic
So,
location
yeah,
of where all this
you
happening.
can go, you
Hit
can
him
go
with
to
that.
geographic location. You again, I always make this joke that look, man, ain't no blue eyed, yellow haired white boy hiding in Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Middle East.
You're gonna stick out like a middle, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna stick out, bro. You're gonna stick out.
Yeah.
So, so the language, even if you go back, you know what I'm saying? Look at the language.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And then even in, as I was reading this recently, John the Revelator, when he got the revelation of the Christ, because that's what the book of Revelations is the revelation of Christ, the revealing of the Messiah, right? Again, look at the description of what he saw. He says that I see a man whose feet is like
Bronze.
burnt brass.
Yep.
Now, brass alone is already
Yep.
got some color to it, right?
Yeah.
Now burn that bad boy.
Yeah, it's gonna get,
And
gonna get dark.
you're not, you know what I'm saying?
Dark.
You're not going to get the picture that we see. So, what a lot of young black men need to realize is that your faith was actually stolen from you and whitewashed, and then rehanded it to you to oppress you, to keep you subservient, to keep you passive, right? To keep you docile. But when you go back, there's a book out from a slave, right? He ended up getting free somehow. I forget how he ended up getting free, but it's called Ola Ura. Look it up.
Okay.
Okay, he writes his own autobiography, and he talks about his experience when he came into America, that the Christian religion that they were preaching, the principles and stuff, he said, this sounds a lot like what we believe back home. Like this has a lot of similarities, even to the language. Now then, as you dig deeper into Ola Ura, that his last name Ura is a variation of Judah. All right. And then if you go back to the old maps, you got to dig them up. The old maps, where the slave coast is. You got the Gold Coast, then you had the Slave Coast, and I forget whatever. There's like 4 different coasts along that western horn of Africa. So the Slave Coast, if you look right there on a very old map. I forget what year you would have to go back to, but they're out there if you look them up.
Oh, there's a place called Judah, right?
It's a place called the Kingdom of Judah.
Yeah.
And that was actually called Negro Land.
I saw that. I saw that documentary where they claim after Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD, like Christ prophesied, many of the Jews fled and went southwest and established themselves there in the Kingdom of Judah, where white people called it Black Land, right? Or the Europeans or something.
Yeah, they called it Negro Land.
Negro Land, yes.
Negro Land. Well, actually, that was the name.
That was the name.
From my understanding, is that was the name, was because it wasn't meant the way it got turned into. That's where obviously the term nigger came from.
So if someone was to say Negro, that would be
You're talking about you're talking about where you came from.
where you came from, actually, right?
Yeah, you're actually talking about where you came from, according to the map, right?
Yeah.
So this is Negro Land, and then underneath you'll see it in like italics, cursive writing, where it says Kingdom of Judah.
Kingdom of Judah. And let's also point this out to fix the minds of young black youth, that a lot of them believe that the European Empire, the Roman Catholic Empire was the first Christian nation on earth. But who was the first Christian nation on earth?
The Ethiopians, baby.
The country of Ethiopia was the first national Christian country on the planet. Man, so Christianity is not stemmed in whiteness, man. Yes. It's an Eastern religion. Why do people always call it a Western religion?
Exactly.
It originated in the Middle East, man.
That's
in
right.
the Levant,
That's right.
in Israel,
That's
in
right.
Judah.
That's
you know what I'm
right.
saying? By people of color, man.
Exactly.
All these,
Come back.
all the patriarchs,
Come
they're
back.
people of color.
Come
Noah,
back.
Moses,
Come back.
Isaiah, they all
Come
people
back.
of color, man.
Come
on,
back to
man.
your roots. Come back to the
If you
Lord.
think about this, man, I mean, this is where like you can get really deep into scripture, man, because the Bible talks about in the last days that his people will wake up, right? That they would discover who they are, because they at some point, because of the curses, they lose their identity.
And that's the book of Deuteronomy.
Yeah, you
where
can find
Moses,
that. Yeah, you can find that in Deuteronomy.
Said, if
Well,
you
also
don't
too,
behave,
that
you shall be cursed.
Ezekiel talks about the nation of Israel becoming one nation in one day. We find that in the end of the World War II, where United Nations come together and they declare Israel being one nation. Now, there are white-skinned Jews that are there, but there are also dark-skinned Jews as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're all starting to come back. Even the Ethiopian
Ethiopian
Jews.
come back. Yes.
Ethiopian Jews are starting to come back.
And there are
as
tribes
well.
in Africa that
Claim Hebrew descent.
No, they don't claim. They know. They did blood test on them.
Look at that.
And
They
they
already
know
know,
they
yeah.
come from the tribe of Levi.
Look at that.
And when I say black, bro, these are black, like blacker than me, bro. Like black as this tablecloth kind of black.
And they're
So
priests.
this is
They're
interesting
high
though,
these
right? Because
this is the priestly tribe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the priestly tribe. Yeah, the Levites.
Bro,
So this is what's interesting, right? Because even though we're talking about different skin colors, yet through one man sin into the world,
yes.
Exactly. Break it
and
down,
then
Lou.
one man justification unto righteousness is offered to everyone who believes. But what I love about what the Apostle Paul says in Acts 17, he says, through one man, all the nations exist.
That's right.
That's right. See, we got to get that.
All the nations exist. And so
Exactly.
that's important right there too. But we're so segregated today because of sin.
Yeah.
It's sin,
Yeah.
bro.
That's the
It's
bottom line.
sin.
That's the
Even
bottom
back
line.
down to it.
Even the idea of race, color,
Yeah.
that's recent.
Yes.
It was about nation. It was about
Exactly.
where you come from.
Exactly.
Not really the tone of your skin. It was your nationality, if you will, where you come from. That was what you identify with. This is why Paul could also, even though he was probably a brown man, could identify himself as a Roman.
That's right.
And he valued that as much as he valued being a Jew.
Listen, I just finished reading an article from Deacon Darrell at WordPress.com. He says why racism isn't wrong, and he uses that as kind of clickbait. But when you get into that, he breaks down how racism is pretty newer construct, but that's what it is. It's just a social construct. but in the grand scheme of theology, we are one people.
That's it.
That's right.
Amen. God's
That's it.
people. God's people.
Kick the truth to the young black youth. Yes.
Yeah.
We got to come back. We got
Got
to come
to,
back.
man. Got to.
And that's listen. With us, that's the one good thing I can say that's coming out that stems off of these protests, and and nothing's good out of someone's death. But at least there's conversation now.
That's the biggest thing I'm having right now. Right? There's conversations being spurred, but it's not happening in the church the way it should be.
Yes,
and I'm talking about between white church, black church, or white church, colored church, however you want to break it down. There's still, let's be honest, white evangelical Christians are ingrained in their political positions.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And this is an affront to where they stand politically speaking.
White Republican
Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
conservatism.
Well, this is where people got to be careful, because patriotism for a lot of people becomes a god.
Yes, you're right.
Idolatry.
That's a good
yes.
point.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's where it's
Yes,
like
it can cross over.
you got to be very careful, man. This is why, man, listen, we talk about everything's on the table, right? So this is why
gloves.
I don't salute the flag, man. I don't stand for the flag, not as a form of trying to disrespect, but number one, not even about, for me, it's not even about me being black. It's about me being a man of God. And I will not worship anything but God. And when you stand up to the image, because that's what, bro, we got to just speak truth.
Go ahead,
the flag is the image.
Yeah.
Right?
an
It's
image.
the equivalent of Nebuchadnezzar raising up a statue and then saying, when you hear the music, you must worship. And so when we hear the anthem, what do we all do? Everybody's supposed to stand up and do what? Worship.
Get
Now,
dope on it.
now, I know that a lot of people gonna get offended by that. They don't like that. But if you are a believer,
If you God fearing,
bro, I gotta give it to you. That this is where we have to separate, because then what happens is we allow patriotism to enter into the realm of our faith,
And it
Okay,
affects
so
us.
and that's dangerous.
So,
ahead.
but you have to apply that worldwide then, not only in
Absolutely.
America. So that means
Absolutely.
every person that's proud of their country, Mexicans,
No. See, there's
Germans,
a difference between you can be proud of your, you know what I'm saying, being proud of the idea. I'm saying when you take a symbol now,
right,
you take the symbol, and now I'm supposed to salute that
like
symbol.
the Mexican anthem
Yeah.
or the German
Oh,
anthem.
bruh.
So those, you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
those are all forms of idolatry.
That's form of
If
worship.
you're a Christian,
Yeah, that's worship.
so we shouldn't do that.
My personal belief, yeah, we shouldn't do it.
well, this is a good segue. What you think about the Roger Goodell apologizing?
Yeah.
Everybody is folding.
Folding,
Drew Brees
yeah.
is
Folding.
folding.
Everybody's folding.
Drew Brees expressed his love for nation and country and flag and anthem. And Shannon
and let's
Sharp
be honest,
went
in
on
a
a
short
3-day
time, like
tirade
just 3
to
years
just
ago-
destroy him, and then he folded.
Yo, just 3 years ago, NFL was folding because their main viewership, white America, was
yeah.
like, yo, y'all tripping.
Yeah.
What they doing is disrespectful to the flag. And they was like, listen, ain't nobody kneeling.
Right.
And they, but now,
They coming back
they
180.
coming back.
Like, hey, we were wrong.
Exactly.
Sorry, we were wrong.
Yeah, and it didn't.
And you know
Actually,
why?
our army didn't. Someone from the army, I forget what type of branch, spoke to Kaepernick and said that that's if you
Yes.
sitting down is
down-
disrespectful,
yeah,
but take a
sitting
knee.
down was
That's
yeah,
why he
take a knee
fought
was
in the
more
war,
respect,
so
yeah.
you could have that right to kneel.
Take a knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a knee.
Well, actually, he told him to take a knee because it was
Yeah.
more respectful.
More
Than
respectful.
sitting down.
Because
Yes.
that's what they did out in the field when one of their comrades died.
Right.
They would take a knee as a form of respect.
So
But
out
see,
of
like
respect,
everything-
Kaepernick said, "Okay, I will take the knee instead
Yes.
of sitting down."
So
Absolutely.
peep game though, peep going. I think everybody's folding now. Now everybody's changed their opinion on the supposed disrespect of the national anthem and flag, because check it out. This is my opinion. It's a whole bunch of white people now recruited by Black Lives Matter that's fighting
Yes.
for Black Lives Matter,
Yes.
and now that affect the bottom line. So now you go to Amazon Prime right now. I go to Amazon Prime to watch a movie. Boom. Big bold letters, Amazon
Yeah,
Prime respects
Everything.
the Black lives everywhere.
Hulu,
All
everything.
corporations,
All
all
corporations,
conglomerates,
bro. All
NFL,
Bro,
bro,
let me tell
everybody's
you.
folding because they understand
Bro.
the money power that African Americans have in the United States of America, bro.
Let me bring it to you like this, man. If you black right now, you you got it kind of made right now.
Oh, they loving you.
Oh, yeah. I see it every day.
I'm gonna give you a personal example, right? So I was in Home Depot. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I was in Home Depot. I went to go grab some stuff. No, actually, it was Saturday. So I went to go grab some stuff to do some work at the house, right? And I get to the cashier, put my card in. My card comes back declined. Now I had just went to the bank earlier and took out some money, so I knew. I'm like, yo, I definitely got the money in there. What's going on? It was only like $50 or so. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I know I got the money in there. So I ran it through again. Comes back declined. Like, what the heck is going on? So the lady was like, well, sometimes the machine acts up, try it again. So I'm like, all right, I'll try it again. Came back declined again. So now I'm like, all right, something funny going on. So I called my wife. I'm like, hey, did you move money over or something? Like, the card's not working. And I'm like, I know we got the money in there, right? So there's people standing behind me and whatnot. And my wife was like, well, they might have shut it down because they might suspect fraud or something. And you know what I'm saying? Because she said, I don't normally shop at Home Depot. But I'm like, I shop at Home Depot all the time. And she was like, well, not with my card. You usually don't shop with my card. I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, it's Home Depot and it's only $50. You know what I mean? Like, to shut down a card over $50, that's crazy. So I'm like, nah, I don't know if that's right. Right? So as I'm having this conversation with my wife, this guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, what you need? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, nah, I got it. He was a white guy. And I'm like, nah, I got it. It's just, I'm saying, I got to sort this thing out on my card. And like, it's just embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? You standing in line, you got the money. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I look like the black dude can't pay for his stuff. You know what I mean?
Bad credit. The bad credit.
So as I'm talking to my wife, I guess homeboy went and paid for all my stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I'm about to call, I was checking on my card to see if the money was on my card. And as I'm doing that, he walks up to me and tells me, he's like, hey, man, you good. I took care of it. I'm like, yo, for real? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because it threw me. So on one hand, I know that was God. Definitely that was God.
Because I was going to ask you, is that black privilege or is that favor?
That's definitely favor.
Little both.
That's what I'm saying.
Mostly God favor.
I'm going to be honest. I think it was a little both.
Yeah.
Because of the season right now that we're in. Because he was saying that, it's all about peace. It's all about, so I know where that come from. But at the same time, I know where that came from. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're using the Black Lives Matter to your advantage.
Dude.
And that is criminal,
Whoa,
now.
Yo, in Houston,
you're slanging your black life, to get people to buy you things. Pretty soon you're going to see them at the car lot saying, I don't know. What you think about this, man? Black Lives Matter. Nah. But no, I like that, though.
On the same token.
I like that. That's big. That's huge. That's a good thing.
In Houston or in Dallas, it was one of them. You had like 200, 300 white people kneel and beg for forgiveness for 400 years of atrocity.
Yeah.
You read about
powerful.
that? It was like, I don't know, it was like 50 black people in a tent, and you had like 100 white people just bow down and beg for forgiveness.
Can I keep it 100 though? I struggle with that.
You struggle with that?
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
It's huge,
that's kind of crazy.
That's humbling to me.
It is humbling, but I struggle with the fact that these people had no role in that personally.
Mm-hmm. But on the behalf of their ancestors, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I think that's what they did.
I ain't apologizing for my grandfather and everything he did.
Right. I hear you, but they're apologizing because they know that they're privileged.
I was just telling Kurt, Lou, I understand.
I struggle with that.
I understand.
I'm not in 100% agreement with that.
I wouldn't be like, hey, black man, I'm sorry that I have a lighter skin than you do, and I had this privilege.
I could see if the nation repented, black, white, Hispanic, and repented of all their sins, and we in agreement in that area, that's one thing, right? But just to say I'm white and I'm repenting of my sins, I struggle with that, man. That to me is...
I think it's more of a tactic that the Black Lives Matter movement has done. Not only the Black Lives Matter movement, but the last 50 years since...
But how much of the guilt, how much of that... Right, okay, my bad. I don't mean to cut you. Go ahead.
Since the Civil Rights Act was signed and black people on paper were given the same... supposedly same civil rights as all other white Americans, they've been struggling and fighting for freedom. And I think 52 years or so of African Americans trying to gain equity in this country George Floyd is now used as a catalyst to get over the hump, and now they're putting this massive guilt trip on white people.
But that's-
massive.
no,
And be like,
that's
yo,
part
use
of-
your privilege to help our movement, because if you stay silent, that's just as bad as putting a knee on
That's
our
yeah,
part,
necks.
that's
that's
part
saying
of
that,
the
definitely.
redefining of what racism is.
Yes,
Right? So
yes.
that's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So because so for example, there's a teacher that attends our church. They had a seminar a couple years ago that pushed this narrative that because you're white, you're racist and you don't know it. Right.
That is the new stuff.
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
That's-
they don't
yeah,
even know.
I don't
it.
agree with that.
Yeah.
No, man,
No,
that's what I'm saying.
that's
That is a postmodern.
Yes, where they're redefining.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
redefining what
But-
racism is, and I'm not in agreement with that.
I'm
The
not
University of California has a list of microaggressions toward African Americans, and the majority of them are like, yo, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So basically, you just want me to shut up and not say nothing.
Yeah.
Basically, is what it is. So yeah, I see your point. Some of it is a little too far.
It's
It goes
extreme.
a little
Yeah, it's a
too
little
far.
extreme.
But I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
clarify too that this did not come from the black community.
No,
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 yeah.
That what
that's
you're
the white
talking about-
liberal. That's white
Yeah,
liberalism.
that didn't come from the black community.
That comes from the liberal arts colleges that
Yes.
are pushing
Yeah.
that. They've been pushing that since 1980.
Yes.
and the and this comes back to the term
Critical racial theory.
exactly critical race theory. So
Yes.
it comes back from that, and
CRT.
Black Lives Matter stems from that kind of thinking.
Yes.
So, but this is the thing. Most law schools will teach it, but they say it's not profitable in the law in a law of court. You want to know why? Because it's rooted in experiences and
Yes.
it's not factual.
Factual. Yeah, yeah.
So like the numbers when you have an experience, let's say the abuses right of police, you can have other facts that will skew that.
Right.
And so that's the struggle of trying to use that in a court of law. But for a situation like right now, using it as an ethos or as a banner to push a major agenda, it works perfectly.
Yes.
It works perfectly. You can't use it in the court of law, but with what's going on right now, using that kind of mentality, you can. Now, let me say this: some of it is good, though. I ain't gonna lie. I watched a teacher from Minneapolis give a little 30-minute segment on this critical race theory, and he had some major good points on it, and it was some good stuff. But nevertheless, I think overall, though, the redefining of things and then pushing that and saying, yo, you're a racist because you have white privilege and you have parents that have given you all these things and you don't even know it. Like,
Yeah, that's
yo,
bogus.
Yeah, how does that
bogus.
affect the
That's
white?
crazy.
You know, say I'm a white kid and I'm born and I have no control to being white and you know.
Well, this once again comes back to what Paul says in Acts 17 when he says, "Through one man, every man has been born through one man. Every nation has been born through one man, in the places where they live, in the era, in the time frame that they live." Man, that so in a sense, through God's sovereignty, I'm not saying He's ordained sin and the injustices that we go on, but in His foreknowledge and in His sovereignty, He knew that you would probably be going through some of the things you're going to go through in life for the one explicit purpose of getting to know Him, to reach out to Him. And that to me, that's a struggle for this new kind of theory that's coming out, even though it's not new. It's since the 80s.
Again, and it's more self. See that self, it's gonna be the root of evil and the root of you having that challenge of walking with the Lord, putting yourself too much self, whether it be your race, whatever it may be, whatever case it may be, it's just too much, and you have to eradicate that. It has to be God first, and now Satan has just periodically put layers there.
See, and
layers
this,
of self.
and this is where I can see, and I'm not justifying the white evangelical church, but I could see where the white evangelical church may have an issue because they see the spiritual component behind this, and they're just like, yo, I ain't feeling this. My problem is that there's still people hurting, and there needs to be communication there.
So what does the church? So go back to that. What is the church doing? What the church should be doing right now? Us as the body. Because I feel like we're two-sided.
Because we're
I feel
so
like
fragmented?
We're not. Yeah, we're divided. We're unseen. We're stuck in the building. We're not out.
I think the starting block is conversation. So I actually got an email, and I got the email late, didn't even notice it, but a local church here that's mostly American got together with Michael Peace, OG of Christian rap, and they had a discussion on this. That's the starting block. But the church has to move beyond its comfort zone and start getting involved in the community the way you said it. And I'm talking about even white evangelical churches.
That's right.
Right? Because the black churches have been in it for a while. They've been doing their programs and outreaches. White evangelical churches need to get involved as well, too.
Hispanic too.
Hispanic churches as well.
We really quiet. And
But
that's the
we
next
just
topic.
we cater for our own people.
We don't even do that
Show you.
sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So this is the end of our show here. But we want to finish off with a final thought. But let me just remind you here to reach us on Facebook at Theology on the Street. So you can find us on Twitter. And our Twitter handle is TATS, TATS_podcast. And our IG handle is Theology and the Streets. Make sure you search us out there. One final word here. As we move forward in these times, I think this is a great opportunity for the church to stand firm and be a light, be a beacon. And we have to strive for unity's sake. Not only that, we got to be able to listen to people, hear what they have to share, even if we agree to disagree on certain stances the world may have, or even other brothers and sisters in the faith may have. The reality is we got to strive for unity, but at the same time, listen to others. That's my final thought.